So I'm standing here in front of the Dewdrop Inn. The first time I ever saw this place is when I used to drive through here as a shortcut on my way home. And the sign always intrigued me because it looked like such an interesting location. And that was back way before Katrina, and the place was in way better condition than it is now. So as we look at it, it has had some rougher times since Hurricane Katrina hit. And this tarp right here where you see a musician actually used to extend all the way down, but now there's only the one corner of it left.
Welcome to Knowledgent. Let the good times roll. The history of the Dewdrop Inn goes back to the late 1930s when Frank Pena, a barber from Plaquemines Parish, ventured to New Orleans, where he purchased a grocery store located at 2836 LaSalle Street in New Orleans, located in Central City near the Magnolia housing projects. Frank enlisted his brothers to help him transform the grocery store, and by April of 1939, they had created a barbershop, restaurant, hotel, and nightclub, which they named the Dewdrop Inn. After the completion of the project, all three brothers continued to play major roles in the success of the operation. One brother cooked for the restaurant, while another brother worked as a barber, and then another brother handled all the repairs on the property. A beauty salon was even added to the barbershop for the women. During World War II, people were still seeking entertainment options, and as so many musicians were staying at his hotel, Frank responded by starting to book bands for concerts around the city. Frank then started putting on entertainment in his hotel lounge, and he further developed the space into a dance hall, which opened in 1945, which put the Dewdrop Inn in a major position as one of the main entertainment venues in the entire area, if not the country, for black musicians. Vaudeville acts of all types performed here, along with dancers, comedians, novelty acts including magicians, snake dancers, female impersonators, and stunt performers, bands, local musicians all flocked to the venue to perform. By October of that year, Louisiana Weekly reported that the Dewdrop Inn was New Orleans' swankiest nightclub. The Dewdrop Inn also earned the nickname the Groove Room. Frank Pena was also a well-respected civil rights activist. He invited all people to his venue. Unfortunately, this led to legal problems, and Frank was arrested several times for violating segregation laws, and the Dewdrop Inn was often the target of police raids. These actions led to Frank filing a suit against the city of New Orleans just before the Civil Rights Act of 1964 forced the repeal of the segregation laws. The police raids did not deter the success of the club. Every New Orleans rhythm and blues musician of note, along with many future rock and roll stars, passed through the Dewdrop Inn. Local well-known artists including Ernie K-Doe, Alan Toussaint, Deacon John Moore, Fats Domino, Irma Thomas, along with well-known artists from all over the country, including Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, Ike Tina Turner, Otis Redding, Little Richard, and even James Brown performed at the Dewdrop Inn. Little Richard took it a step further and wrote a song about the venue titled Dewdrop Inn. Ray Charles even lived at the hotel at the Dewdrop Inn for a little while. The club also frequently attracted celebrity guests during the 1960s, such as Adam West of Batman fame. Frank also held drag shows at the club. One of his two main master of ceremonies was drag queen Patsy Valdeler, who organized and hosted the annual New Orleans Gay Ball, held every Halloween at the club for almost 2 decades. Patsy also imparted knowledge to musicians about how to project themselves to the audience. Frank's other MC was blues musician Joseph August, also known as Mr. Google Eyes. With all the fantastic music that passed through this place, it is a little bit unfortunate that due to copyright I can't really play any of those great songs in this video, but there are still some things you can go out and find on your own. And I'll actually even provide a link to one of the songs down below by Little Richard called The Dewdrop Inn. And as we look through these pictures, there's some really great photos from 1952, 1953, and 1954 at the peak of the Dewdrop Inn taking off. And also, if you notice Lollipop Jones here in this photo, there's actually a movie you can look up on YouTube that he was in. So if you want to go back and find that, just look his name up and YouTube will bring a movie up. We have Ralston Crawford to thank for taking these photos, and then the Hogan Jazz Archive to thank for preserving these fantastic photos. This Lollipop Jones show looks like it was certainly a great time to be had. I hope somebody somewhere has a video of this show, or time travel gets invented so that we can go back and see what sort of hilarious things were going on during this performance. These special officers look like they really got to enjoy their job a lot. And this just looks like an energetic performance, along with they are just having a good time. So it just looks like they're having fun, doing a great performance. You can see the energy here. And here is a great photo of the Dewdrop Inn at its peak. It's nearly unrecognizable in the current form that it has degraded into. So sad. And this is a really interesting photo where if you look to the far right off stage, the lady in the dark dress actually has a microphone performing also. And then we have several shots of some female impersonators and their performances. I'm not even going to ask about Wild Cherry there. That looks like maybe a fox fur. And maybe this is a drag queen contest here. So I think these photographs establish that drag queen shows are not anything new in New Orleans. And a shake dancer. It would be fun to see the shake, I would imagine. And it really looks like a lot of work went into that costume. It looks like there was a lot of intricate work put into that. Sadly, the party eventually had to die out at the Dewdrop. Ironically, the repeal of segregation laws in 1964 led to the ultimate decline of the Dewdrop Inn, as customers started spreading out to other clubs, and the Dewdrop Inn's popularity declined. The nightclub officially closed in 1969, but left the hotel operating. Frank Pania's health also deteriorated due to cancer, and he passed away in July of 1972. But the building started to deteriorate. Hurricane Katrina's floods further devastated the building, along with extensive termite damage, leaving the structure in need of extensive repairs, and many of the walls have already been gutted. Before Hurricane Katrina, there were still a few long-term guests still staying in the old Dewdrop Inn. After the destruction of Katrina, the last individual that I can find any evidence for living in the Dewdrop was a Roosevelt Randolph, who was the only one left at 2836 LaSalle Street. And he had been living there since 1996 and lived there until at least December of 2012. And there's no record of when he finally left, but it is certainly quite a while that it has been deserted at the Dewdrop Inn since.
The cat still lives here.
In 2010, the Louisiana Landmarks Society named the Dewdrop Inn an endangered New Orleans historical site. That same year, the building was declared a historic landmark by the Historic District Landmarks Commission. There are no historical markers, plaques, or other signs anywhere on the Dewdrop Inn property indicating that any of these historical designations even exist, unfortunately. There have been some attempts to renovate the Dewdrop Inn, but so far all of these attempts have failed. Frank Pania's family, the last I can find, still owns the property, and they have had it listed for sale, with the last listing I can find a report on at $600,000. There's still a for sale sign on the property, but I have no idea if it's still for sale. It doesn't come up in any of the real estate listings I can see. It is a true tragedy for New Orleans and for the United States as a whole that this true cultural icon of music and New Orleans and American culture finds itself in such a derelict condition, and also a huge risk, because in New Orleans, abandoned buildings like this go up in fires all the time. So this place is greatly in danger currently. So do go take a look at it while you can and while it's still there, because any given moment, any number of terrible things could happen to destroy the structure. So it truly is in a most precarious situation. And we could simply wake up tomorrow and discover that the entire building was just torn down for no good reason at all. But it doesn't take much examination of the exterior to see that the building is in extremely poor shape, and just the wind blowing could possibly knock it down. So definitely do take a moment to see this, because it ain't there no more in many ways, and sadly it might be gone all the way sooner than later. Yet as always, we can still hope and expect that something and someone might come through to renovate and save this amazing piece of history for New Orleans and America, and keep it going so future generations can appreciate all the fun and where a lot of the groove began of so many great forms of music.
This is a national tragedy for the entire United States, along with New Orleans, as it's such a great piece of music history to be left in such a condition as this. So please come take a look at it while it still stands.
If you would like to follow me on Yelp, I have thousands of pictures and reviews on there. You can also follow me on Instagram for more photos. And please like this video and subscribe to the NOLA Gent channel. We would also love it if you would help us out on Patreon and help the channel continue to have more content produced. Thank you very much.